streamed with closed captioning and may be accessed on the city website under council recordings. The meeting can be viewed on cable channel 68 Thursdays at 12 and Sundays at 10 a.m. We have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Sires.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here. Allison, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Approval of the...
Aye.
All right, thank you. We have no ceremonies or proclamations. Board and committee vacancies. We have one vacancy, committee and commission meetings. Parks Board is July 10th at 1 p.m. There will be a town hall p.m. Radio Board meeting is July 23rd, and that is at 10 a.m. And Planning Commission will be July 23rd. Public comment, public communication to council is intended for communication to the city council regarding general council business, individual member, or city staff. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We request that comments be nice and respectful. A person may use the public comment for the purpose of campaign or advertisement. The city council will seconds remain of your public comment period. A red light will notify you that the public comment time has ended. Public comments, whether in person or remotely, will continue in the usual position on the agenda.
Population. Sockeye salmon from the Snake River system are probably the most endangered, and coho salmon in the lower Columbia may already be extinct. And what solutions are devised to deal with this? You guessed it, more killing. First, it was the double-crested cormorants that were killed by the hundreds of thousands. In the last century, wolves were extirpated from most of their historical range because ranchers brought invasive species of livestock by the million into the wilderness, displacing the wolves' natural prey, deer, elk, and moose. Rather than protect their livestock, the ranchers declared war on wolves and enlisted the government to carry out the trapping, snaring, shooting, and poisoning of this native predator, all in the name of financial gain. What's the common thread among these three stories? Short-sighted decisions were made to serve consumption over conservation, creating immeasurable harm. In ocean shores, it appears that we are blindly following this dismal path to destruction. Every day, we are witness to the short-sighted decisions that are being made to destroy our environment with no thought given to sustainability. Can you imagine 2 lots side by side, completely obliterated, including city property, to provide for 1 parking spot? You cannot look at this site and say this is acceptable. And no, individual rights do not extinguish community rights. The members of this community have the right to a healthy and thriving ecosystem for both human and non-human animals. Will we learn from the mistakes of the past, or will we continue to sleepwalk our way to disaster? I was hopeful that a new administration, the lot clearing problems would be dealt with. But as in the past, nothing of consequence has been done. So, council members, our future is in your hands. Please do something to stop this madness. There is nowhere else for us to turn. We need an environmental policy that will set out the guidelines to preserve and protect our shared environment into the future. Thank you for your time.
Matt Buchanan, 4th of July thanks and camping survey.
Hello, I'm Matt Buchanan. Look at all my fingers. 4th of July this year was a great success from the attendee standpoint. Thanks for implementing the suggestions of managing the approaches better. The chance approach was much safer for pedestrians and cyclists this year, with keeping traffic flowing and discouraging parking on the approach. My group always does a huge fireworks show. It's one reason why we bought down here. Some data from my group this year. Over the 3 fireworks days combined, we sent up roughly 2,400 mortars, 300 firework cakes, and just as many 100-shot Roman candles. We were set up on the beach just west of Ocean Pores, in a prime location for the High Dunes Trail to watch. We also clean up our spot down to raking the sand to get all the little tiny pieces up. We were out till 4 a.m. on July 5th, picking up trash other people have left behind. There's been a lot of negativity about fireworks, but just here to say it's not all negative. Good times were had despite it getting a little crazy when people were trying to leave this year. Lots of stuck vehicles when the tide come in. For next year, I'd like to see the information flyer expanded with a visual that shows the high tide lines and pictures of two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive zones to out-of-towners because people don't understand driving on the sand. Also, thanks for making the camping survey happen. Now we know that the supermajority of respondents support a change to 120 days, and we look forward to further action on this. Thank you.
Jane Shattuck, recognition and support for city staff.
Good evening, Jane Shattuck, Ocean Shores resident. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the city staff for their hard work and dedication, regardless of the tasks they face each day. A recent example of their commendable efforts is the Developed Camping Lot Days of Use survey. This was a groundbreaking initiative by the city, making it the first time all individuals were given the opportunity to voice their opinions. It was an inclusive and bold attempt to ensure that everyone who has invested in property in Ocean Shores had a say. When the survey was released, some individuals publicly questioned its validity and doubted the city's ability to verify if respondents were indeed property owners. One commenter even claimed that Lillian had extra copies if anybody wants them, seemingly encouraging attempts to skew the results. In response, city staff meticulously reviewed each return survey, verifying as many as possible, and created a detailed spreadsheet that distinguished between verified and unverified responses. This effort was to ensure that the council had the most accurate data for their discussions. Unfortunately, those who initially questioned the survey's validity were unhappy with the city's verification process and results, criticizing the city on social media and at community events. They went as far as to question the labor hours spent on verification, despite being the cause of the additional work. City staff undertook this effort to address their concerns diligently. These same individuals also expressed concerns about names and addresses being published, despite previously questioning the need for verification. They failed to accept that all city communications are public records. Some argued that people were unaware their communications were public records, yet the same individuals often claim that property owners should have known about the 90-day stay limit. It is interesting to note the inconsistency in their arguments. In conclusion, this survey was a new initiative, and we cannot improve without taking such steps. While there are always lessons to be learned and improvements to be made, criticizing city staff for their diligent efforts is unproductive. Constructive suggestions and ideas are far more effective in improving processes. Let us focus on being part of the solution and not the problem. Again, thank you to our city staff for your dedication and resilience in striving to meet the needs and expectations of all Ocean Shore citizens. Your hard work is greatly appreciated.
Maria Van Horn, events at the Convention Center.
Maria Van Horn, 9-year resident of Ocean Shores. How could all of you continue to allow the hideous gun show into our beautiful town? Disguised as a big top event, turns out it's just a bunch of clowns peddling violence and death. A few years ago, a group of 50 concerned citizens came forward begging the city council and the mayor to stop bringing the gun show to Ocean Shores on the 4th of July weekend. At that time, we were asking to move it to a less hectic weekend. It fell on deaf ears with so many excuses given. Can't deny them, or others could be denied. That's not true. Greed factors, need to make money for the city, etc., etc., etc. We can be grateful to President Biden as of April 2024 for finally closing the gun show loophole for now. Who knows what the Supreme Court will do? The results were seen in town as the gun show did not attract as many attendees, the undesirable mood they bring with their obscene signs in town and on the beach. Even with the new regulations, our group of concerned citizens no longer want the show moved. We want it eliminated from the convention center. 15 of us had an anti-gun show rally on July 3rd this year. Overwhelming positive response from citizens. We counted 101 thumbs up. 5, I love my guns. You can love your guns, but we still don't need a gun show in Ocean Shores. We are tired of the status quo. We live in a democracy. I know some of you think that's a dirty word, but we are proud to use our rights of free speech to let you know what we want and what our community deserves. Why not close the convention center to all outside groups on July 4th weekend? As a government employee for 40 years, I know as long as you treat all groups the same, there is no discrimination. Better yet, do a city-sponsored event, something we can be proud of and not embarrassed by, something for families. Or get the pizza places to donate food and hire a DJ. Have a dance for the teens. They need something to look forward to in this community. All kinds of positive ideas are possible. Gun violence is the #1 cause of preventable deaths of our youth. I am a responsible gun owner. I have a safe. I am not an anti-Second Amendment person and don't want to be classified as one. But I'm disgusted by the thought of hunters with AR-15s decimating their prey. Our children, our future. We will continue to protest. Our numbers will grow. Our rallies will get bigger. Do something you can be proud of because we are not backing down. Thank you for your time.
Marty Hadfield, July 4th, and KOSW.
Hi, Marty Hadfield, citizen of Ocean Shores and member of the Ocean Shores Radio Board, KOSW-FM. I just wanted to take a moment and thank Chief Ritter. I don't believe he's here tonight, but anyway, the entire fire crew. KOSW had an opportunity to join the chief and some other staff at the fire command at the hotel balcony this 4th of July, and I was fortunate enough to be there to offer some technical support along the way. One of the things I wanted to mention was there were signage at many of the entrance to the city as well as a couple of the entrances to instruct folks to listen to KOSW 88.9 for important news and information relative to activities that were going on the beach. We actually saw a pretty dramatic demonstration of the effectiveness of the radio station when Chief Ritter asked Butch Larson, who had a remote broadcast setup, to be able to go on the air live and announce that the fire department would really appreciate it if people would start using other entrances to the beach other than just Chance Lamar. It was backed up all the way through town. We were able to actually see a rapid deployment of people breaking away from that long lineup and moving off to other on-ramps. This is the type of thing that we can do when there's an event in town. We can assist with the traffic and other pedestrian movement around town by using the radio station to offer instructions that are coming from city officials. One of the things that we've done, of course, that will occur, the opportunity will be there when there is someone present at the radio station to be able to take a remote broadcast in and put it on. In the meantime, I've come up with a system that is now viable for the city, and the chiefs have the information on how to access it, where from any cell phone they can call a special number and have access directly to the airwaves without any intervention by an operator. So if it's after hours or just during a period where there's no DJ present, the city has the opportunity to use the station, which is licensed to the city. It's one of the only ones in the United States that is a full-class broadcast station that is licensed to the city. And we appreciate that the opportunity has been presented to us to be able to show the effectiveness of the station, and thank you very much. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
That concludes in-person public comment, and we have one remote comment. Don Williams, council priorities and camping lot days.
Okay, are we on okay?
Well,
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to say a couple of things about the discussion session coming up at the meeting. And the first comment has to do with the council priorities. I thought it was a great list. I'm looking forward to discuss, and that is the what's needed at the library, which is a upgrade to the audio visual system. I want to say that the council meetings in the last 2 or 3 meetings, something has been done with the system you have. Now it's 100% clear, the color is better, and the whole visual approach, the way the cameras can zoom in on individual council members. And at the library, I've listened to many meetings live and on the Zoom record and understand. The rest of it you can't. And of course, the visuals aren't anything like what you have now at the convention, so that is at the same quality as.
Overview. I did have the pleasure of spending my 4th of July, part of it at least, at the command center at the Shiloh Hotel, and got to tour the beach with our fire chief Ritter. And I'm just going to give you essential information that came from the 4th of July for our community. The traffic count for the city for July 1st to the 5th was 107,000 vehicles, 106,941. And on the 4th of July, we had about 28,000 vehicles go in and out of the city. So quite a large number of individuals. Both OSPD and fire and our public works crew were exceptionally busy. OSPD responded to 167 incidents between the hours of 8 a.m. on the 4th and 4 a.m. on the 5th. That's 69 more was found. We had 3 assaults, 14 boating patrol contacts, and some code complaints, and then complaining about their neighbors camping and other fireworks. So our police were stretched out, and they were doing a fantastic job. And then the freshwater marine patrol, our marine patrol officers were out on the police boat on the water on the 4th of July. 3 most common mistakes they come across when they find people who have purchased a new vessel or paddle craft. One is the decal display. And before you remove those stickers and place them on your boat, be aware there are instructions on the back of the decals. Less than 16 feet require that all users wear their personalized flotation devices, the event of a boating tragedy or an accident. And it's mandatory that anyone operating a vessel with 15 horsepower or just wants to remind, our police department wants to remind everyone to be safe and be kind and be courteous when on the water. And by all means, can enjoy our fresh waterways this summer. With regards to our fire department, equally busy. On July 4th alone, they had a total of 50 calls between the 3rd and the 4th. And the 4th was not unexpectedly the heaviest day for OSPD. They had 30 patrols. The most serious firework injury actually occurred the day before the 4th of July, when a male patient received a left side face-way approach in the Pacific approach. Thankfully, the fire did not spread into the heavy brush because that area contained about a 7-acre approach, and the fire was actually knocked out within 45 minutes, most likely caused by fireworks. Some eyewitnesses report many of our partners that came to our assistance, and I'll just kind of read some of the different groups that helped. The Avert team, them. We want to thank Roglan's for their bulldozer and operator. Obviously, KOSW for what Marty had already mentioned. The Ocean Shores Golf Course, we allowed to use their golf carts, state parks for their cooperation and patrol, and the Grays Harbor County Sheriff, Washington State Patrol. Lastly, tonight, burn restrictions are in place once again with the warm trend recreational campfires, provided you have the licensed and authorized fire pits and you put it out in the evening. And again, more rules for that will be found.
Thanks, Scott. Next up is project reports. That's going to be
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and citizens. I have a rather lengthy report out for the health clinic for architecture and engineering to build out the space that was previously Beach Bum Fitness on Chance Alamare. The request for qualifications is due on July 19th, and an evaluation committee from the city and Harbor Regional Health will be put together to evaluate the firms for selection, and the selected firm will then come up before council for approval. The 3 million gallon reservoir tank lines are being completed by Gray and Osborne. They're making one final update, and then the project would be ready to go out. This is the work that includes recoating the inside of the tank, which requires draining all 3 million gallons of water. Just a side note, I talked to Ricky today, and we used almost all of that water over the 4th of July weekend. He thinks we may have set a record for water usage this year. The contractor will be required rebar that are in need of repair. This is a project that is also part of the budget that's to be completed this year. And if it's not completed this year, that work will come and ask to be rolled over to council for the next biennium budget. And that work should go out to bid in the next couple weeks. The city is working on a contract with SCJ Alliance to design replacement specs and drawings for the diffusers at the wastewater treatment plant. The new diffusers stopped working and were pulled up from the oxidation ditch a couple months ago. And the wastewater treatment plant team was able to tell that they were blown out. And the actual project will come out of a budget request for the next budget season. So that is a project that is not budgeted, but there is a budget for SCJ Alliance to design the replacement specs for it. That will come out of the current wastewater treatment plant budget. So we'll get a design and an estimate before budget season this year so that we can bring that forward to council this budgeting season. We will be working with a vendor to run an ultrasonic camera down our gravity main lines in the north end of the city. These are not the same lines that were replaced with lid funds. These are old original gravity sewer main lines that are failing and disintegrating on the top end of the pipes. Sewer department has repaired these pipes in several areas already, and we need to get an idea of how widespread this is in the north end of town. The ultrasonic camera will measure and show the thickness of the pipes to show the areas where the pipes need to be. This will allow us to get an engineer's estimate also during this budgeting season so that we'll know what to ask council for a budget for a project in the next biennium. And I do expect this to be a fairly sizable project, maybe even spread over the course of 4 years. The sewer force main at the golf course is also a project that Gray and Osborne is working on, writing specs and drawings right now. And they're doing a rewrite for us because we were unhappy with a 90-degree turn that they had on both ends of the bridge that just isn't acceptable to the city for sewer lines. So we asked that they rewrite some 90-degree angles for sewer pipes to be 45-degree angles. And that work we are expecting to be able to put out to bid towards the end of the summer when busy golf season is over, because we don't want to shut down that 18th, is it the 18th hole? During busy golf season. And that is also an already budgeted project. The Aero Lumber Culvert is expected to commence construction in August with Simmons & Sons, Inc., which was awarded by council in June. I'm currently working on scheduling the pre-construction meeting with the major stakeholders for that project. It's also a budgeted project already with ARPA funds coming from the Oyhut Ditch project. We're still having conversations with FEMA and WA EMD and the engineers for the vertical evacuation tower. and discussing next steps for additional funding. Right now, the tower has been scaled down to a 400-person tower, and the construction date has been approved to be pushed out beyond 2025 for we've had more conversations with FEMA. They do seem to be more interested in additional funding for us to find today, so that's exciting. The project was approved by council and is in the budget to be completed this year. The convention center HVAC replacement units have been delivered to the contractor, which also exciting. George is going to be busy with me in the next coming weeks. So we're working with Apex Mechanical to schedule that work. The project is also approved by council and budgeted to be completed this year. And Apex Mechanical thinks that that work is only going to take 2 to 4 days to complete. So that'll be a nice take the old ones off, put the new ones on type project. The street department should be replacing the roundabout thermoplastic markings finally in late August or early September. We'll have a traffic detour during that time. We'll have postings online before we do that. And work will be done early in the morning. We'll do a couple hours for a period of 5 days to 10 days, just so that it's not an all-day project every day. The street department also plans to rent a striping machine and restripe the parking spaces by the Shiloh entrance towards the High Dune Trail, which will include ADA parking spaces at the entrance of the High Dune Trail. The ADA spaces will do with the thermoplastic or torch down materials so that they hold up. And the street department is also working on turning on the sprinklers at the parks this week. The park sprinklers are turned on. They have a couple tweaks that they need to finish, and they're working currently on the median sprinklers for the rest of this week as well, but at the end of this week, everything should be up and running. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Becky. Next up, we have sand and sawdust report, and that's done by City Clerk Sarah Logan.
And was hosted by the Ocean Shores Convention Center. While George Lee, the famous and talented individual associated with the festival, was not present at this meeting, I just want to say we all chip in when we're not comfortable with things. So, the festival achieved the distinction of being the biggest event of its kind to date here in Ocean Shores, as announced on behalf of the city and Ocean Shores Convention Center. To provide some perspective, I want to bring up the numbers because that's the most exciting part and what everybody actually is waiting for. In 2023, the festival had sponsors' contributions, a total of $7,950. In 24, the sponsorship amount increased to $10,000, resulting in a total increase of $2,050. Vendors in 2023 generated $16,950, whereas in 24, they brought in $17,725, lending to a total increase of $775. The auction, which if you've been to Sand and Sawdust, is the biggest part of the event. In 2023, it was $84,585, but in 24, it reached an impressive total of $116,800, resulting in a $32,215 increase. Miscellaneous sales, like the t-shirts that they put on every year, was $1,121 in 23, and in 24, it was $2,350, which was a $1,000 increase. So overall, we wanted to be very conservative because we still have little bills coming in. And when I was conservative, George then took that and doubled down on his conservativeness. And we're looking at about a $36,000 net profit for Sand and Sawdust this year. So that's really exciting from an event that used to not do that great. The Ocean Shores Convention Center extends its heartfelt gratitude to all the sponsors who made the festival possible. The title sponsor, 5 Star Dealership, along with local sponsors IGA, Bennett's, Ocean Shores Eagles, the Canterbury Inn, Bayview Hotel, Playtime Family Fun, Oyhut Bay, and KOSW, played a significant role in the success of the event. Additional sponsors included Quinault Beach Resort and Casino, Peak Propane, Willis Enterprise Trucking, Leaf Guard, and also deserved the recognition for their support. The festival's success was also indebted to the dedicated volunteers who ensured clean and safe working environments for artists and helped make an auction a memorable experience. A special thanks goes to the Defenders of the Coast, as well as Nikki Logan, Nikita Skinner, Larry Dawson, Becky Leach, and Nicole Birch. Furthermore, the festival required extensive planning and preparation, which would not have been possible without the hard work of the Public Works Department and the Convention Center staff. These individuals, who worked tirelessly throughout the weekend after completing their full work week, deserve recognition for their commitment. These members were Nikki Lee, John Keller, Greg Marshall, Bill Gurley, Angel, not gonna try, sorry Angel, Ken McKay, Michael Lott, Brent Ely, Matt Tyree, and Alex Severson. The festival brought the city alive with the sand sculptures displayed throughout town, from the beach to local businesses, and showcased impressive kites displays. It offered a wide range of vendors, outstanding entertainment, and a remarkable wood carving by local, state, and international, because there was a gentleman here from Australia, artists. The event successfully brought together visitors, locals, friends, and coworkers for a weekend filled with enjoyment and camaraderie. Finally, a personal thank you goes to the Convention Center's general manager for ensuring another flawless, respectable, and successful event. With the success of 2024 festival, the anticipation for an even more successful 2025 is high.
All right, thank you. Great job by George Lee managing this convention, and all the volunteers. Really appreciate their hard work. Next up, we have liaison and committee reports. Denise, would you like to start?
Yeah, I have signed the past couple of weeks. I have agenda setting this coming week. And I think Marty already did a wonderful job in talking about the developments of KOSW, especially the ability of our police chief and fire chief to access the radio station. So kudos to KOSW.
All right, thanks.
Well, we had a few things canceled last couple of months, and we haven't attended those, like our workers. So agenda setting, I've attended, and basically I want to get back so we're doing all of our things we're supposed to be doing.
All right, thanks. Lisa Griebel.
Thank you. Hey, I'd like to start with, members has passed away, and so just want to let people know and be thinking about John Lynn passed away, and think about his served our community well as a council member and as a community member, and our thoughts are with his family. I did give us information about the library and the library board. They have hired another person to help. Her name is Hannah, so we'd like to welcome her to the library. They do have another opening due to a resignation. So if you know of anybody that's interested in working at they're averaging 27 people an hour through the door at the library. But lots of activities going on the website, whether it's to go see Roberto the Magnificent, to hear some authors, including the author of All Present and Accounted For. You could get some computer basic training. You could enjoy on GB, learn about virtual reality. So again, our library is an all ages place. It's a busy happening event and visits. So check the library website for all those things.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Lisa.
Thanks. I signed warrants last couple weeks, had agenda setting, and then Council of Governments on July 18th.
All right, thank you. Allison.
I attended agenda setting, and I have Public Works and Finance Committee coming up next week.
All right, thanks. Richard.
I attended agenda setting.
All right, thank you. Rich.
Yes, agenda setting was a lot of fun.
Right, great. Thanks. Mayor's report's up next. I want to thank Melissa Lentz and Sarah Logan for their hard work on retrieving $70,000 in delinquent B&O tax. So that was a great job by them. Melissa now has in place procedures that will ensure that something like this does not happen. So we're in good hands there. The June general fund ending balance is $4,404,000. Sales, real estate and utility, motel and hotel taxes are all up from last month. I'd also like to thank Shantae Nations for the excellent job she's doing with the financial statements. They were out in 9 days. I don't think I'd seen that happen when I was on council prior to that. So she's doing an excellent job on that. Upcoming here, foreclosure auction will take place July 15th at 10 a.m. here at the Ocean Shores Library, located 573 Point Brown Avenue Northwest. Property will be sold to the highest bidder, and that'll be for cash. And you can find out more about these properties on our website. Visit osgov.com. And that's it.
Approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We have no old business. We have some new business, and that will be presented by Mark Lawless with our Planning Commission. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending sections of 1750.210 of the Ocean Shores Municipal Code pertaining to the minimum floor space of all single-family. So, thanks, Mark.
There, we good? Yep. Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Administrator, members of the City Council, and Ocean Shores community. On December 13th, 2022, the Ocean Shores Planning Commission met and unanimously voted to recommend that the Ocean Shores Municipal Code be changed to specify that the 40% reduction or restriction on building area be applied to residential lots only. The Planning Commission felt that the clarification was required to remove any possible misinterpretation that the 40% lot coverage restriction could be applied to business or commercial lots. And the second one we have is the Planning Commission on May 9th, 2023, and again, May 28th, 2024, after several meetings where minimum square footages for residential construction were discussed. The Planning Commission felt that making 650 square feet the minimum floor space in all zones would both simplify and modernize the municipal code and result in the opportunity for more affordable housing. It also felt that in consideration of the recently implemented architectural standards of section 17.50.210, a modern 650 square foot house would continue the character of Ocean Shores single-family neighborhood. The Planning Commission also felt that the requirement for more than one-story dwelling to have a combined total floor area of at least 1,000 square feet was unnecessarily complex and had the potential to unnecessarily increase that cost of housing. You know, we had many meetings and looked at many things before coming up with these recommendations. One of the things we looked at were manufactured homes, which have a footprint of 132 square feet. And we realized that they work fine in the 650 square feet zones, but anything 8 and above, they didn't qualify for. Hence, after a lot of discussion, we came up with the 650 square feet recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Now we have public comment. Yes.
Are council members aware that our divisions represent different sized lots ranging from 7,200 square feet to over 12,000 square feet for single lots and even larger boundary line adjustments? That is why different minimum square feet were established by the city. Why put a 650 square foot home next to a 2,000 square foot home? Appraisers call that non-conforming. It is no different than putting a 5,000 square foot home in a neighborhood of 650 square foot homes. This idea will hurt existing homeowners because it will change the nature of the neighborhoods, and appraisers see that. It is really creating affordability, is it? Is this the way to do it? Do other communities have one-size-fit-all minimum square feet? Are there other structures that meet the same affordability desire? Are we not already zoned for multi-unit dwellings, townhomes, duplexes, condos, other multiplex units provide affordable ownership? We allow ADUs. However, we restrict them to relatives and caretakers. I suspect this requirement is not followed by many who currently rent those units. We have pyramid zoning in our commercial zones. Why are we not promoting multi-use buildings to provide retail on the first floor and condos on the second? What does this idea do to the city's finances? Homes exist for 30 to 50 years, creating a multitude of affordable single-family homes everywhere instead of as currently platted by a more than sufficient division chart is foolish. 16 of our 27 divisions already have 650 square foot capabilities. How are we going to pay for police, fire, all the other services from our city when we cut off our nose to spite our face? Will we have fire benefit charges in order to support the fire department? Because you're not going to have it in the general fund now because we've reduced our potential of earnings. As to the 40% issue, we have many commercial properties. All our commercial properties have pyramid zoning. That means you can build your single-family residence in those commercial areas. Now you can go as big as you want on that commercial lot because we have no restriction as to how big that home can be now and how much coverage that lot can have. That is a flaw in the way this document is drafted. And thank you.
Do we have any other public comments? Yes.
Dan Hyatt, and I do live here. I had a question and a comment, and the question is on page 20 of the council agenda, and I just didn't understand how this worked. All lots shall be 7,200 square feet minimum, except lots as platted on date of adoption of the ordinance codified in this chapter. Needless to say, I didn't read through the whole documents to figure out what that meant, but possibly you can explain. My comment is, I'm asking this now, and I've asked it in the past. When we build these homes, whether they're small or large, and we do not build a garage with them, can we at least require that a 8 by 10, 6 by 10 shed be put in with the home? We all have garbage cans, we all have lawnmowers, everything. And if you drive by these homes without a garage or storage unit, most of those items are just laying around outside. And I would ask again that the Planning Commission and the City Council consider, if no garage, some type of outdoor storage unit, which can be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 more. Depends on what you put in. So, thank you.
Do we have any other public comments?
We have one remote public. Don Williams.
Okay, how are we doing?
Doing good.
All right, I want to make a couple of comments. The first one is with regard to the 40% restriction on building area. I think there's an error in the documentation, page 20, in the middle of the page. That's supposed to be showing a markup of the ordinance, and in paragraph, I think it's paragraph A, under 17.50.210. That statement is the current language. It needs to be I want to also comment on I want to also comment on the
People, even in Grace Harbor, a lot of senior citizens who can no longer afford to stay in the homes that they have. They're too big. They can't take care of them. They don't want to leave the area that they're in. Being able to have a smaller size foot home is encouraged, and it's also missing middle housing. We are having a lot of, we are a tourist town. And we have a lot of population out here, service community, that can't afford rent, that can't afford done. And I do support the 650 square feet. And Mr. Williams made a comment. There are some gorgeous small homes out there. I've seen some 100 square foot range. May not be your cup of tea, may not be everybody's cup of tea, but they've got some amazing modernization and different functionalities. And granted, it's not going that small, but 650 is a good size, and I am encouraged.
For 650 square feet. And as I was looking at my own division, I realized that was 650 square feet. So what I did was I took a drive down the 0.7 miles of my, actually at the 650 square foot minimum. So I understand the concern about it values. So tagging on to what Lisa said, I think if this can provide any more affordable housing to who need it, then I'm definitely in favor of it.
Any other comments or yes?
Potential tax revenue for the city. Tax on a 650 square foot house is significantly less than. So does anybody have any idea about what this would do to our tax income? So that's one of my first.
We did not look at that at all in terms of taxes.
I can answer that.
Okay, please.
Taxes would significantly increase.
That's a very good answer. Thank you. So that larger home, is there any truth to that supposition? Is that just somebody's, I think so? Lisa, you.
Maybe in some instances, not always. It really depends. What if you have an amazing lot with trees and vegetable to not constantly clear cut their entire lot? It's going to provide a smaller footprint for the house, resulting in less clearing, hopefully. but that's how I look at it. So maybe in some instances, yes, but not in most. And that's not just for low income, middle income. It's also for our seniors as well.
So again, a very good answer. And understand that I'm just, as Catherine used to say, I'm just pondering. I liked what Denise had to say earlier. She drove down her neighborhood, and although 650 was available, I'm all for affordable houses, and I'm all for small houses. I lived on a 37-foot sailboat for 11 years. 650 would be a huge, a luxury. So living in, I knew a family who raised 4 kids on a 29-foot sailboat as they sailed around the world. The other thing that I wanted to ask Mark, in this code, we specify a maximum of 3, because if you cover less than 40% of your available property, I don't care if you build 16 accessory dwellings.
Okay, thank you. Rich, can you help me out on that then?
Go ahead, Rich.
While we were on planning commission, was a brutal conversation, and we compromised. There were people that didn't want that many, and there were people that wanted more. So there was no mathematical reason whatsoever. It was what we could get pushed forward to council. So not a good answer, but it was a political answer.
Well, thank you for that. And
I appreciate the work that your group has done on it. My question is, what were some of the concerns your group heard from the community or expressed about maybe reasons not to do it?
well, the interesting thing was we didn't hear a lot of internal discussion, but when we talked about it in our open meetings, we didn't get much pushback at all. As a matter of fact, the comments were mainly positive, that by modernizing and streamlining, it would remove the chart, which for some was confusing. I mean, I've heard other comments.
Just real.
And that seemed to go over very well.
All right, thanks. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Lisa?
Just real quick on the 40%, I think Mr. Peck brought up in his statement that, and please correct me, I haven't dove too much into the commercial side of it, but if we're allowing a single family residence to be built in a commercial zone, maybe we could also
Additional use to build a single family, 40% would apply.
Thank you.
Yes, Rich.
That was definitely one of the items. Also, just to calm the matters a bit, the cost of entry to build a house now with all of the new regulations is high. A small home is very expensive. So I think organically people will find out that it's this much money for $650 and not much more to go to $1,000 just because you're already there doing it. So I appreciate, Denise, you doing what you did, because I totally agree. We can pretend that, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Well, we are increasing our tax base. We're giving people freedom of choice, but houses everywhere. The other thing I have, since we're talking about the catchword of the decade, which is affordable housing, one of the speakers talked about ADUs, and if we truly want to be ADUs that aren't part of the 40%, because that's what a lot of them do. It's almost like free space. It's not their 40% coverage. But more importantly, if we take away the rules that we have now and let them rent to non-family members, and we can talk about rentals, but if I to build an ADU, I'm pretty sure the renter that he would have in there would be a quality renter, because he's kind of living there with short-term versus long-term. We don't necessarily want maybe overnight rentals, but we could at least have long in ADUs to help with affordable housing. Or, as we like to say sometimes, some of the service workers aren't be a win for everybody. So I thank you for the work you did. I know it's difficult, and I hope that to take this and move forward.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Almost impossible to enforce who is renting that. You can tell me it's your family member. How am I supposed to know it is actually your family member? It's almost one of those portions of a code that is impossible to enforce. So I would also agree with that, lifting that restriction.
Richard?
So I agree with Rich and Lisa both on the restrictions on the ADU. My thought is change, but I would like to remove that maximum of 3 accessory structures. It just doesn't make sense to me. Covered by the 40%, I think. And I'm just looking at my notes here. Give me just another second. In general, I appreciate it, and here it is close to fruition, so thank you. And I guess that's all I have. Thank you.
Right, any other comments? Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment for clarification's sake. So just because it was brought up, it's off of. And then pages 15 and 16 are the markups that we're going to actually do to the code. And then page 13 is the clean red scratched out. I'm able to send them. This is exactly, I think Mr. Williams said too. So that's how you're going to things come forward, is whatever the recommendation is, a markup of that, and only what we're changing.
Right, any other comments? We bring it back.
How much are you looking for something quickly or not, or?
So what my comment was meant to mean is I'd like to take back the accessory restrictions and numbers. And I'll put that on my agenda next time on July 23rd.
So then I guess we'd look to bring this back after the July 23rd meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Accessory buildings. I mean, if 3 is not enough, what do you want to say? 10? Where are you at?
As a reason, and that's why we have a planning commission and planning codes, zoning codes. I would be happy with the 40% rule, and I would 3 structures. It's actually cheaper to build 1 larger than 3 smaller until you start looking at permitting fees. So that's my thought.
Have you met my brother?
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. So next up, we have a request of the Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to award harvesting and treatment of the lakes and canals in Ocean Shores for 2024.
Summer was sent for summer 2024 lake and canal harvesting and treatment. After we did more research with 2 harvesting vendors who harvest on fresh waterways, it was determined that harvesting is a very slow task. We need to do more investigation to find out how harvesting will best suit the city's needs. Thing that we determine is that harvesters run very slow, approximately 2 miles an hour, and can't run in winds really more than 5 miles an hour. And we know it's pretty windy out here in Ocean Shores quite often. We are happy to be presenting getting a harvester on some areas of our water proposal that is being sent to council tonight based on our budget for this time of year. Let's start reading this again. We're happy to get a harvester on the water this summer in conjunction with treatment that has been done in years past. Northwest, we have a budget of $190,364. And we have a budget that I'm presenting tonight for this proposal of $136,134, which is split between harvesting and treatment. So I'm asking for council to approve, and it does with me tonight to answer questions is Northwest Aquatic Management, because they are the experts in the field and can definitely talk about the treatment that will be used in the lakes and canals, and more about the harvester that will be used, and where the harvester will be used, and how the weeds will be moved out of the water, and those types of things. So
they're going underneath and taking the plant out. At the north end of the lake, the source of a lot of our water for the lake, on the right-hand side of the bridge, Chancellor Mayor Bridge, that area is now choked. They couldn't even get their equipment to the north part of the lake to even do an analysis. We have Limpet Park, which maybe that would be a place entry could be made, and maybe we should start thinking about developing a boat launch there so canoes and people can use that park, because that's what it's supposed to be, is an access point to the lake, because you can't get to that part of the lake because the Albatross Bridge is too short also. So as far north as most things can get, other than maybe a kayak, is North Bay Park. So we need to start thinking to the future, because if the water source gets blocked at the bridge, you don't have water source going to the south. You have the Grand Canal, Few Springs, and that's it, and rain runoff. Also, something we should be considering as a city is raising the weir. We retain more water in our system and therefore prevent that from happening, because the evaporation is already happening and you almost don't see any water going over the weir right now. And last year was late October before we saw any water going over the weir. So this is just observations, you know, from being here many, many, many years. And it, as I said, we need to take care of that, be it dredging or something at the north end of the lake, because otherwise you won't have a lake.
Any other public comments? Yes.
I have dealt with the harvester that we have in our community here, and just I would like to hear more about the operations, how it's offloaded, things like that, how it's going to be deposited, because in a lot of the other presentations I've heard, most of the larger harvesters take a lot more time because they have to offload and things like that, where there are the one that was in here, they were bagging it, and what the pros and cons to that would be. So thank you.
Any other public comment? Nobody online? Okay. Council, any questions or comments?
An experience with this type of a contract, but I see on page 37 of the agenda, if I'm looking at this correct, your registration fee, $1,275 to do the maintenance on the machine before you bring it. Is that normal?
So that fee is to take the machine and make sure it is clear of all noxious or any other vegetation that may be transported to a new lake or new water body. What we do, compressor which has high heat air, and we blow everything off. At that time it usually turns into dust, so we wouldn't be moving invasive.
That's a very, very good answer, and I appreciate the care you're taking to protect the waterways. Thank you. That explains. Can I also add? I give everybody else.
You got a different question? Then let's
just a comment. And my comment is, I am generally in favor of this contract, that removing the biomass is better for the lake environment. So that's my comment. Thanks.
Lisa.
Please, thank you. So a mechanical harvester, we have two different machines. One is much larger. We don't only go about 6 feet deep. Obviously, that is determined by debris in the water, depth of the water. We try to harvest as close as we can to the lake bottom, but that's usually about a foot up because we're not going to put our cutter teeth in dirt and debris. Then the cutter head will cut the material. It has cutters on the sides and at the bottom. There's a lot of mass there and they don't really compact. With a submerged piece of vegetation, once it gets on board and on a hot sunny day, it will actually start to be water on on board, and we can continually pack those plants. What do you think? On it with sideboards, so the harvester would back up to the tailgate. It would latch itself on there. It would offload and convey all the material on air trailer, and then we can usually get 2 boats worth on the conveyor trailer. Then the conveyor trailer would go dump or offload the mill at the site that we choose. Everybody all agreed upon.
Getting from A to B, that's, you know, the time consuming part. Once the harvester's full and then getting to the offload site, especially if it's a mile away, you know, that takes a long time. So navigating offload the community members or residents, like, that's extremely important, because keeping the harvester harvesting that's our goal. We don't want to send them back to the shore to offload, right? We want them in there working it. So we got to work in conjunction with the community to figure out the best method to do that.
All right, thanks. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Lisa Griebel.
Of harvesting, spraying, and owner maintenance as much as people were able to try to improve the health of our waterways. What can you remind me what the communication plan is to let people know about the spraying?
When we sent our request for proposals out, one of the reasons when we did the evaluations that we selected, and the other company wasn't willing to do that. So everything that was done previously will be done and handled the same way with all of the same information, and all of the chemical information will be posted, and all of the MSDS sheets and all of that information will be shared. And then also, just to follow up on the weeds and removing them from the sides, we're talking about using the Vector truck, and I spoke with the sewer and the water department about the Vector truck, and they said that that is a viable way to remove the weeds from the harvester, and then be able to have Public Works bring them to our green waste bin. So that will be a time-saving way to be able to get more weeds on the harvester.
I'd like to question is, then that means that any place that we can get the Vector truck to, not necessarily a boat ramp, we could offload the harvesters. So properties that had access to their shoreline and their soil could sit the Vector truck could be potentials. And you don't know the answer. How far does the Vector truck boom reach? But that's a public works guy. They're smart. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions by the council?
But one more comment, just to put.
Sure, Richard. You go ahead.
Just to put this all in perspective, I asked Sarah a couple of days ago, 78,000 and some change. This proposal is not out of line numbers, and we're going to be removing a whole lot of that biomass. So that's just a thought. Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead. Yes, Allison.
I would like to go ahead and make a Northwest Aquatic Management.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
City Council budget priorities, and that'll be led by our city clerk, Sarah Logan.
At the last count, an email soliciting all of the council members that had budget priorities that they wanted to put in straight away. The priorities had been included in the agenda along with that 23 and 24 retreat priorities and overview that we did after the 24 council retreat. So this is basically what we would do now is we would, you guys can talk amongst yourselves, but then we would decide on a study session to go over all these and really create a list that can be provided A, to the public, but B, to all of the staff. So as they're preparing their budgets, they're looking at these specific things that are respective to their departments. So, your turn.
Question?
July
Go ahead.
18th, we're scheduled for that study session, correct?
Correct. And my phone is over there, but I did.
From anybody when we discussed it the last time, so I'm assuming the 18th does work.
Okay.
Uh,
We do not have a time, full members that work still, so.
It's going to have to be in the evening.
But we can, there are a few dates in the end of June, middle of the week, and there are several dates in August also. So if we get to, an hour or two or whatever and say, hey, we need another one, we can schedule another one.
So can you find a time for us? I think we have Public Works at 3:30 on the 18th.
Mhm.
So it's probably going to need to be sometime after, probably 5:30, somewhere in there.
We could probably do 5.
Scott, I'm going to need you to cover Council of Governments that night. Thank you.
I see you directing traffic at the study session and us throwing on the board stuff that's still valid that we all support.
I think a big thing for us was really facilities plan and making sure that we were obviously Becky presented tonight. We have some things that we're going to need to up in the 25-26 budget that are capital related. And I think we're sometimes it is helpful also to know from a staff perspective what are those top priorities that you more than likely can't live without in 25 and 26.
So Becky said something about one of the
Sewer.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I could
that we
grab
don't know
that
about.
before we come, just from the departments.
From
Like, here's
staff.
your.
We won't know what that's going to entail until after we do that.
That's not going to be out of the general fund, correct? Okay. So hypothetically, we have a utility fund that's got
Yeah.
the money in it. We just might address how the utility fund is
Correct.
funded.
Right.
Yeah, the gravity sewer mains are failing in the north end of town. So, and it was a project, and so it will be coming forward in the 25-26. But the other question is, do more than one session?
Sure.
Quite
Yeah.
honestly, because we do have some needs, especially when it comes to the police station. So I don't know, but we'll start on the 18th.
I think the utility funds are what I'd be very interested in, so that we have a jumping off.
Absolutely.
And it would be a really good time for the citizens to start emailing their priorities to the council so that we can include those. So email to the council your priorities.
But no more stop signs on Dolphin. We're done.
Rich is not putting any more stop.
Email to Mr. Hartman only.
So anyway, this was just short and sweet and kind of like preemptively getting us ready for conversation.
Okay, Richard had a comment.
Just a comment to the other council members. I submitted a pretty long list, and my list was pie in the sky, and I would invite the other council members to look at that list, discussing them, and you can email it to me, and I'll compile the list if that works for everybody. I'm offering that.
That's great. Thank you. And absolutely. It's great to have that wish list, but unfortunately, I think in this
The last time, pie in the sky.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Yes.
So the 18th at 5. Sorry.
Go ahead,
I
Denise.
just wanted to add, Lisa, I agree with you that it's going to take more than one session. So
All right. Any other comments? Yes.
So I saw Denise's, and I saw mine. And then it ended with.
All of the red pencil for markers is mine.
Okay. Her name wasn't on it, so I didn't know if it was your.
My name was on the email.
And take a 10-minute break.
I know, and I don't, for those of you who don't know, I am a supporter of an additional 30 days. I have been since I started. You know, listening to what our citizens have to say is extremely important, and I would base my decisions and my thought process around what's best for the community. One of the things that came up in our budget priorities last year was the potential an advisory ballot to the next ballot, and come to find out it was a tad bit expensive. I forget, the range was anywhere from 10 up to I think $20,000 depending. Yeah,
14 to 18 we were
14
told.
okay, 14 to 18, so 10 to 20, yeah, somewhere in there. Staff had a great idea of something that they could do to help alleviate the cost but try to get the same results. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. And I think they'd be the first to tell you that. But they've done a phenomenal job with what they had, and also trying to verify every single ballot that came in. And there were a lot that came. I apologize. Thank you. A lot of people didn't get questionnaires. Some did. I know the conversation had come up like, well, how come there weren't two voters? Obviously, you know, things weren't perfect, but I think we got a great representation of a lot of the city. Yes, they did have staff time involved in that, but still, between staff time and what it took to mail out, still less would have been for an advisory ballot. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you, and I'd like to actually turn it over to Sarah to kind of talk about the.
Everybody was heard. And so that seems to be 8 years that I've been here. We have this discussion, and it's X amount of people are here at a meeting, but then these voices aren't heard, or then social media, and everybody doesn't use social media, so their voices weren't heard. So we opted to use very minimum. So we had an option to pull everything from stormwater. So we did that, and we tried diligently to get rid of any duplicate houses in a utility account. If you rent, you have two accounts under your account name. One would be suspended. A tenant is a registered voter in Ocean Shores, a property owner, voter, but they own the property. So we opted to send it to everybody. And so we did send out, then we sent out all the other ones, and we kind of put on social media and on our website when they were due and what we were looking for. And so we went through, and then it was, well, I can duplicate. Okay, so then we go back to the drawing board, how not duplicating. And so we decided to split the lists and your property address on each letter, because we were trying to mass mail this. And saying staff time, with all due respect to me, is a little ridiculous. Staff that did this had to do all of their other jobs at the exact same time. All of the stuff while they were so dedicated time, it doesn't exist. So we put this together, share project, verified it was meticulously going through every single return address, verifying that those were the actual owners on the property with the county website for every single 3,000 whatever that came in. And then, of course, the unverified, which were noted that way. We did spend between letters and postage. It was $6,712. And again, from the county, we were quoted between 14 and 18. And what made that difference is how many things were on ballot for the coming ballot measure, and they can't guarantee that. And again, we're back to square one. It would be the outcry from the people that own property but aren't registered voters, and that still wouldn't give county.
Thoughts?
Go ahead, Allison.
Sarah, to you and your staff, thank you. That was a huge undertaking. I appreciate all that you put into that. I've heard from people both ways, people who are for 120, people who want to leave it at 90. And so not know the cost of putting it on a ballot when I said that, but I think this gives us some good information. I think it's something we do need to look at. It's been coming up over and over and over again, and I think once we make a decision that it needs to be left alone one way or the other. But I have heard a lot of people who.
Anybody else? Yes, Denise.
I want to say I was not in favor of putting it on an advisory vote because I did not think that gave us the true spectrum of the people who live here, having been a part-time resident to vote here. So I think by doing the survey, we were able to hear a lot of those people who are part-time residents here or who own property. Before the survey, I really didn't have a feeling one way or the other as to which I preferred, but I think the survey shows us where the majority of our
Yes, Richard.
So is our objective tonight to decide what we're going to do, or are we just discussing the survey? So on the discussion, the neighborhood that I cycle around frequently is Haslow and Discovery over close to the commuter. And the camping lots over there are pristine for the most part. On the other hand, I have who have left campfires unattended as they've gone to bed at night, who have partied to all hours of the night, which is the complaint I hear about camping. I respect this survey, and as was already said, the results of the survey overwhelmingly indicate the respondents' preference. So that's my thought.
Lisa, did you have your hand up?
That said, yes, I thought we should do this, and I just hope that we have learned through this process about how, if we wish to do this, or how to do it even better, and learn from the feedback we got from community members. And I do want to get a lot of feedback from community members that felt that if they had, it had been clearly stated, solicitation of feedback, that their name and their address and their comment was going to be posted, that they would have done things differently.
I was probably the loudest about wanting an advisory vote because I wanted to listen to the voters. I was very scared about the results we might get. I was scared that there would be low and not even close to statistically correct, and that we would be having to vote on something that was, but I also know I'm a person that has multiple lots, and I get one vote, and so statistically right there, that
One
makes
survey answer.
One survey answer. And so statistically that lowers that return. So I know that, you know, when I calculate 27% return, it's really probably more like 40%. Even a nail biter, I'm very surprised, but it's not even a nail biter. So it certainly doesn't hurt me as a person to have the camping days extended since I have a camping lot. But now with these numbers exaggerated to one side as they are, I feel pretty comfortable that this is real. This isn't Jews. It is expensive to develop a completely undeveloped lot. I know what it costs in the sewer and the water and the power and to get it ready. We are not going to have undeveloped lots rush to become camping. There might be a few, but that's also not going to be the outcome of this full summer. And now I don't have the setup and the takedown every single time or multiple times more than once here. And I'm going to tend to want to come down more because it's easy. It's a quick 2-day, whatever it might be. Now we're helping the businesses. We're helping support the community more with tax revenue. So about, you know, what kind of massive changes are going to happen in the community. I don't think we'll notice, but it will help people.
Any other comments? Yes, Richard.
I want to riff a little bit on what Rich just said. about out here. His suggestion was that the city offer one time that anybody who wants to take their totally lot and put in water, sewer, and electricity, that the city would charge cost plus, I don't know, 10 or 15%, an incentive for more people to put in those basic amenities. And his thought, but it's just an idea to throw out there, that might incentivize more people to put in those amenities. My personal feelings on the 120-day camping, if you've got those amenities and you're likely to stay here longer, some significant percentage turn that into full-time build-a-house resident. So that's the thought I wanted to throw out.
A lot of that's might be a gift of public funds, which we can't do. And the city's not contractors in that regard either. So, again, a good idea might be warranted to have a discussion to see if there's something, but there are those lines that can be questioned. I don't know if there's any additional comments, but what I would like to do is have this brought forward on the next council meeting for a vote.
All right. Okay, well,
A lot of people were commenting that, why can't we be there 365 days a year? Why can't we be there in all these lengths of time? But we are restricted with the number of days that we're allowed, that we can allow days, that we can. It's through the state, county, through the county, 100, I believe.
That's correct. It's 180 days for Grays Harbor County.
hold on. Lisa Griebel has a comment.
So, Lisa, were you suggesting that you would like to see a change in the ordinance come back, and for the first reading, not just to vote on it, but this normal process that we would use? Okay.
Sorry, I meant
Executive session for, what do you think, Scott? 20? Oh. All right, we'll go for 15 minutes. Executive session to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement, or to discuss the legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential in which the agency, the governing body, or the member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in no council action with this executive session.
Council has extended executive session by 5 minutes at 8:20.
All right, we're back from executive session. No council. Next up is agenda review. It will be July 11th at 8:30 a.m. Be Council Member Scott Taylor Sires. Now we have good of the order. 3 minutes. Rich, would you like to start us off?
Update too, Sarah. You know, I want to talk about something that's out of everybody's sight a little bit because it's been operating for a while, and that's the skate park. It just takes a lot of money. We all know that, and we're happy that we have what we have today. I don't think anybody thinks this skate park is perfect. We've been lucky that we've got Gary Peace that's disability. He was with a stick, with a cane, skating with a friend. So it was really pretty cool the other day, operating and continuing to keep it safe and just something that hadn't been called out because they did some more warranty work to it. And
Duck Lake Drive, close to the community center. I've been, if I count right, this is my 8th 4th of July. This is the least amount of fireworks in my neighborhood that I have heard in 8 years. I attribute it probably to all of the no fireworks signs that I see in virtually.
Police and fire, they did an amazing job. Our AVERT volunteers that man the state stations and the High Dunes Trail, and I was one of those AVERT people. And the people, when I went to drive up and down the trail, people were loving being able to be up there away from the craziness on the beach. Market, still loving it. Saw more new vendors out there Saturday, and it just keeps growing. So special thanks to that group. But
Lisa.
Kind of ditto everybody. I just really shout out to our first responders for this weekend. That is incredibly hectic, especially when you add in a dune fire on top of that. Great work on catching. To all city staff, Scott, the mayor, everybody. We couldn't pull off 4th of July without all of you guys. So thank you much. And then also looking forward to the golf tournament.
All right, thanks. Lisa Griebel.
Oh, and safe. And just a reminder to myself and to all of us about what it means to be a public servant. And what our community members say, we still are supposed to listen. Even when that feedback might be critical or maybe less than tactful, we still need to listen respectfully and try to understand their perspective, because that's what our role is. And aren't we lucky to live in a place and a country where it's okay for people to express their ideas and opinions, whether we agree with them or whether it's pleasant or not. That's what we do, and we're lucky we can all do that.
All right, thanks. Tom.
Want to give thanks. Participated in one way or another this weekend for enforcement fire. They're not here, but I've been in 2004, and I don't even go to the beach for 4th of July because of the way it was. I heard sirens left and right, so you guys were active on both sides of this.
Well, everybody has already spoken about our incredible volunteers for Sand and Sawdust, as well as 4th of July. But I'd also like the private and public partnerships that are developing that are just incredible, that help make those a success at the food bank. And from January through June of this year, we served, the numbers are incredible. They can continue to go up. And the other people I wanted to thank are the donors to other agencies like Food Lifeline. Thank you to all of our people who are not necessarily out there pocketbooks. So thank you.
All right, thanks. Can I get an adjournment?
motion to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned.